Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, AGA members. I'm Chris Garlock, Managing Editor of the American Go Association's e-journal, joined once again by Michael Redmond, 9-Dan Professional. Today, Michael will be reviewing one of his own games, a game he played recently against Numadate 6P in the Kisei tournament. As always, before we get into today's review, I want to thank all of our AGA members. And if you'd like to support this content as well, please consider joining the American Go Association at usgo.org. So, Michael, we're going to take a little break from the heavy lifting of the AlphaGo series, and thanks to everybody for all of your wonderful comments. We appreciate those. And we're going to take a look at one of your recent games.
Yeah.
So this is from the Kisei. Earlier, well, by the time this comes out, it'll be almost a month, I think, but early in March, I think, right?
It was early March, and this was the final of the FT tournament. So I think I was talking about this a bit in my commentary about my game with Mizokami.
Yes.
So there's about 5 rounds. For this year, it was 5 rounds for me. I think that differs a little bit sometimes, but it's generally 5 or 6 rounds in the FT tournament, and that's the starting tournament, and the FT starts for first tournament. And when you win through that, you start playing in leagues. So there's, if I had won this game, I would be in a C league, and that would be a league with about 32 players. And again, that sometimes changes a little bit, but it's supposed to be 32 players, and it's going to be a Swiss. With 5 rounds. So there's going to be one player with a perfect record because they're matching winners against winners. So there's going to be one player with a perfect record who's going to win the tournament and get into a final tournament to decide the challenger for the Kisei tournament. And the rest of it is, there's a lot of details about how you promote to a B league and stuff like that. I won't get into that this time.
But just one quick question, so because I think a lot of folks who are watching this, are or have been tournament players. What are some of the things that you do to prepare? These are obviously serious games.
Well, Numadate is among the younger players, he's one of the more prominent players. And he hasn't really had any great successes so far. And that's sort of demonstrated by the fact that he's still only a 6P. Like, if you get into one of the top round robin leagues, then you're going to be promoted to a 7P.
Right.
So when someone suddenly changes from something like a 3P to a 7P, then you know that he's done something special. So he's not really done anything like that, but his games are really interesting. And I was pretty sure that I would be facing an invasion to the 3-3 point. So you're going to get to see that. And I'm gonna give a bit of some details of what my present ideas about that are. And then in this game, the game is really exciting in some parts of the game, and especially towards the end where it gets a bit exciting. And so I got a lot of variations in. It's so in many ways it's very similar to my commentaries about the Zero games, and that it does go on for a while, and it gets really exciting towards the end.
Oh man! All right, let's enough with this chit chat then. Let's get to it.
Okay, so I have the white stones, and this time I decided to play a star point. Like this year, in some of my games, I've been avoiding the 3-3 invasions by playing a 3-4 point. But I decided that didn't matter this time, and I did play one 3-3 point. The 3-3 point, in my opinion. Just to go back to this white move here, I think it works fairly well with these diagonal openings because it's a group that's completely alive, whereas if you play a star point, you have to add 2 more moves to it to get a complete territory shape. So I sort of like to play the 3-3 point in these diagonal openings. And so my opponent jumps in. So this is, it was sort of expected. But, it's not as if I can win easily if I avoid this anyway. So I was going to try it out in this game. And I have the white stones, but I was expecting my opponent to jump in.
Well, just a quick question along those lines. How much of this had you planned out before you even walked into the room?
Very little. Like I had done a lot of general study of what happens with 3-3-point invasions.
Okay.
But not necessarily in this particular game. And like Black's move here, the diagonal opening it's an unusual choice. Like it's a low percentage choice. So I wasn't really expecting this move.
Okay.
But once I saw it, I was pretty sure he was going to be jumping into the 3-3-point. Mm-hmm. It sort of makes sense in the in view of what AlphaGo has been doing. It sort of makes sense. There's a kind of a logical.
You sound a little doubtful, but.
Okay. The 3-3 invasion still remains to be a move that I don't really feel that comfortable with.
Right.
But I am going to take this chance to look into what I think are the natural variations. Like in the game, I played the Knight's move here, which is the move that I like most in most positions. But when Black has stones on both sides, as Black does in this opening, actually playing the Hane is another option.
Okay.
And what I'm saying here is that there's a relatively simple Joseki for people who don't really like what's happening with these invasions. Some people might want to play the double Hane here. And so this is a relatively simple one in which I would expect Black to play this variation. And the virtue of this for White is that White is completely alive here. And like with these 3-3 invasions, in many cases we have this white wall facing the outside, which doesn't really have any eye shape. And we have Black trying to attack White. So that's the other variation. So why don't I show it to demonstrate? Like if White extends here, then this is the Joseki here. And when there's no stone on the right side, I think it's correct for Black to crow once more. So although that was a new move that Master, no, it was, it was Master, yeah, what the Master showed us. It works well when there's no extension on the side. So it was really the lack of a stone on the right side that makes this a good move. And then Black plays this extension. And with all of the Black stones sort of pretty close to this white wall, it's really difficult for White to make this wall work as thickness.
Yeah.
And there is a real danger that Black will eventually be able to attack White after adding stones in the area. So this is a variation that I didn't like very much. And this variation with the double Hane, the double Hane is this move, which leads pretty almost always to this shape. Is going to give White a living shape and a wall towards the right side, and Black gets a ponnuki, good shape on the left side. It's an even trade, and the point is White has territory and also has a living shape, a very strong shape, which makes it relatively, to simplify this local position, is good when there's a lot of Black strength in that half of the board, you might say. If we split the board diagonally, then the lower right area is pretty much full of Black stones. So there's a lot of Black stones in that half of the board, which means that it's a good idea for White to be playing fairly solidly here.
And
so there's
White,
some reason.
It's just finished for White, right?
It's finished. It's a live shape. So there is some reason to play this way. And it's something that I would be willing to do. And for people who are sort of aggravated by all of these 3-3 invasions, it's a good way to play. But I had a different idea in this game. So this is kind of a suggestion to people who are having trouble with the 3-3 invasion from the viewpoint of the star point. But I played the Knight's move here. And this is a variation where there's all sorts of new things happening in professional games. And even with AIs, like there's a lot of AIs that are showing up on the internet now, and they're playing against professional players. They're playing new moves too, but also in professional play, in human professional play, there's a lot of new stuff happening with this. And there's the question of, does Black bump against here, which is the game move, or does Black play at A? And so there's all sorts of variations associated with that. And that didn't happen in this game. So I'm going to wait for the next time. And maybe it's going to happen in a following game. And it does, to a certain extent, happen in the AlphaGo games. So we're going to have chances in those too.
Sure.
So this is another splitting point. This is where this move also is a splitting point. But again, I'll save that for a later date. But this is another point where White has two choices. One would be this Hane, and one would be the extension. And of course, there's the double hane on the left, but I don't like that very much. So I'm going to talk about the extension first.
Yeah.
This again is a relatively simple joseki, but it works best for white. For instance, if there's a white stone in the upper right corner, when there's a black stone in the upper right corner, black plays this extension, which is also kind of a pincer on white's wall. So eventually, black will be able to. There is potential for black to eventually attack white's wall.
Yeah, this just doesn't look good for white. I mean, what's
it's something that I didn't find attractive. Yes.
I just don't see what white's getting out of it.
It's very, exactly the point. It's difficult for white to make good use of the wall.
Okay, all right.
And so I played the hane here. So this is setting up a double hane on the left, because when black covers here, white can play the double hane. And we've seen a lot of this in AlphaGo's games, like in the master games, in the series that I was calling the KJ self-play series, although I guess it's correct now to call it it's still a master. It's a later version of master. So I might as well call it master.
It's your series. You get to call it whatever you want. You want to call it the Popeye series. You can call it the Popeye series, Michael.
I was just having so much trouble figuring out how to pronounce KJ, because that's not correct.
So maybe we should just call it the Popeye series, and everybody will know what we're talking about.
Okay, so to get back to the game.
Okay, you insist.
White plays this hane here to set up the double hane. And so black starts with the cut here. This is sort of forced. And I answer on the side. So this is what I would call, once white has done this move, once white has done this is the main variation up to this point. And like there's a myriad of variations. Like I'm calling it the main variation. You could still find different sequences in professional play. But this is one of the major branching points for black, because black does have the option of playing here. And we did see this in some of the self-played games. That was before 0 even. And white gets to play a capture here, and black captures one stone too. So black got to escape on the left and has the corner territory, but actually this capture here that white has gotten on the first line gives white a very strong shape on the right. So I would say, although black has gained in territory, it's usually not very good for black to play this unless the right side is of low value. Like in some positions, it would have a low value. In this position, the right side is at least as valuable as any other side. So when the right side has a large value or a normal value, I would call this bad for black, because that ponnuki that white has is working much more efficiently, and it gives white living shape. And we've seen this working well for white in the self-played series already.
And for black, it looks, to my eye, a bit over-concentrated, yeah? For black?
Well, black has a nice shape locally, but like that ponnuki, it's not as effective as the white wall is.
Right.
And so it's sort of, so black cuts once here. That's before black takes the one stone. So that black was just putting in a cutting stone there. If black had taken the one stone immediately, let's put that variation. If black had taken the one stone immediately, then white would be able to connect here, which would give white a very solid shape. So that would be bad for black. So black cuts here. And so all of this so this is what I expected to happen here. And in some games, white would be able to capture in a ladder. Like capturing, it works. So why not capture in a ladder? But I didn't like that in this game, because the ladder breaking move is pretty effective. And if we assume I answer it, like there's a number of choices black can make for a ladder breaking move. But in this case, if white answers it, then when black does escape here, it's much more effective than it was before. Like black gets a very good shape here. And these this is the key point in white's shape. And it wouldn't be good for black to be able to play there. It would be bad for white. So white has to play there. And this is also a key shape that gives black really good shape in the center. And black is just very solid in the center there. Black has a pretty good shape and still has attacking moves at B and C. So I don't like this for white.
Yeah, me neither.
So instead of capturing, so if I take the ladder, I would have to continue, like when black plays here, I'd probably have to be playing something like this is what master would do. And if it was the later version of Master, then maybe something further away. Well, you don't have to laugh. You've seen this.
No,
Actually.
I know. It still looks so weird to me.
Well, it's just trying to be more efficient.
I know.
Of course, humans, until fairly recently, humans would be playing just capturing the one stone like this, but that's not done anymore.
But up until recently, you didn't even think of it. You just took the stone.
It was the good Aji move, yeah.
Right.
But actually, Goseigen was suggesting this move before Master showed up, before AlphaGo showed up.
Right.
So it's not as if all humans were that simple, but this became mainstream as soon as Master started playing it.
Right.
And so instead of capturing with the ladder, I played here. So this gives white good shape on the right side. And now if black moves out with that marked stone, it's not going to be so effective. So let's take a look at that. Like if black plays here, now it's going to be very difficult for black to make a strong shape in the center. Like even if we start from here, adding stones to that is not nearly going to be as effective as adding stones to this group, where black is actually clasping a white stone and has very strong shape in the center. Oh, sorry, I jumped ahead a little bit. In this shape, when black adds stones to it, black's not going to get any eye shape. So it's very difficult for black to make a strong group. So this is the sequence I expect, but still white's going to be attacking the group at A. So white's going to be attacking in the center. And it's going to be much more difficult for black to make this work. So by playing this move instead of capturing the ladder, in effect, what I'm doing is that I'm making it less effective for black to move out with the marked stone. And so black plays away. So that makes sense. And so this sort of ends this version of the Joseki in the lower right. And obviously black has the corner. And the difference from with this compared to, for instance, let's take a look at, if we compare it to something orthodox that used to be the normal Joseki. If we compare it to this, we can see that sorry, jumped ahead a bit. In this position, white has much more potential to be building territory on the sides.
Sure.
So that's the point here. I've covered on the second line on both the right and left side. So I have potential to build territory on the right side or the lower side.
Okay.
And so it's more territory oriented. And because of that, my group has more eyes also. So my groups are harder for black to attack, which is important when there's two black star points on the adjacent corners. So black plays this side. Well, black has to choose between the lower left corner and the upper right corner. He chose the lower left corner. And so he's trying to set up a more effective escape for the marked stone by taking a position on that side. So I take a position on the other side. And this strengthens the marked white group. So because of that, again, it's going to be bad for black to be moving out at A. And I think I made a variation for that one too. So let's take a look at it. So black moves out. Well, now this time, I have the whole right side. So it's just the one white group on the lower side and this black group at A. And I do have some potential eye space. So this is going to be okay for me. And so again, this is settling the position in the lower right. And I felt okay about this. I felt that the meaning of the invasion at the 3-3 point is to try to create a weak white group.
Right.
So it's not just the territory. The fact that I think I've efficiently avoided making a weak group, which is, it should be good for me. And so black switches to the upper side. And this is a point where I just couldn't decide between this move and A. I think if I had another chance, I would have played at A. And there's a difference here. Like if white plays this high move, it would make more sense for white to continue on the left side. So to go with the game, after black extends here on the upper side, since white has a stone on the fourth line, it makes more sense for white to be playing an extension on the left. And actually, this is probably what I should have done. But I had some different ideas, so it would have been more it would have been made more sense for me to be playing low at A, which would finish the shape on the upper left. And then I would be more free to do what I actually did in the game, which was I started things on the upper side. So if I was really planning to do that, like I was still a bit confused maybe about what my plan for the next move was.
Interesting.
So when I played high, what I should have done, I should have continued with this variation, which would be
I
relatively.
love that. That flows so beautifully.
It's a natural flow of playing big points. Actually, nowadays the games are much more, in general, professional games are much more exciting early in the game, and so this kind of a natural flow is becoming the exception. But this was a case where once I've played high, I think it would be making sense to play.
And when you say exciting, you would attribute that to AlphaGo, right?
AlphaGo is a bit more aggressive early in the game.
Early in the game.
All these attachments, which is what I did. So when Black extended here, I played an attachment on top of it.
Whoa!
Yeah,
wow.
well, all of the ladders favor white. So it's a feasible move. Like if Black pulls back somewhere, here, for instance, this is already a Kikashi. It's already a good exchange for white.
That's for sure.
And I can continue with stuff like this. So there's no problem with that.
So how long did you consider before you played that?
Well, it takes no time to read the ladders. Like the ladders are easy. But actually, I was more worried about what happened. This is the game sequence here.
Sure.
I was more worried, and Black cut here. But I was more worried about what might happen with a fight like this, where Black tries to make Black is trying to give white a heavy shape.
Right.
And force white to play from this group. So I would lose the option of playing on the left side for a while. And it would be a big fight on the upper side. Turns out locally, this is probably going to be okay for white. Like I could play something like this, have no trouble. And I wasn't very sure about this. So I spent a lot of time thinking about this. But the ladders were easy. So I guess I did spend some time on this move, but I don't really remember exactly how much. But in a way, looking from the marked high stone, the marked move on the left here, it's sort of a change of plan. The natural move would be to play an extension on the left side.
Sure.
This variation. So I attach, and my opponent plays the Hane, and so I play this Hane. So this is the game variation. Also, it sort of demonstrates the ladder that I was talking about. So this is one of the ladders. Actually, after the game, I decided that actually it would have been good enough just to take the ladder. Like you sort of want to play this Atari because if Black connects, it's going to be a great Kikashi. It's going to be a good exchange for white. But in actual practice, Black's probably not going to connect here. And if we assume, and my feeling was that the game is going fairly well for white up to this point, then the fact that there's going to be this ko, which is going to be hard to finish. It's a ko that is, at this moment in the game, if Black does not play the Tari, Black actually played away. At this point of the game, it's a kind of an intermediate value. That ko on the upper side is big, but maybe it's not big enough to be giving Black a lot of moves on the left side.
Wow.
So it's very difficult to, it's sort of difficult to judge the size of this ko in this game. And the fact that we're going to have this ko hanging around for a long time.
Well, see, that's what was going to be my question was I'm trying to figure out what's the value of the ko. So it's really hard to figure.
It would be big if Black could win it, but Black does not have any good ko test. That's why Black is away. But for white to win it without Black doing anything would be adding a lot of stones in the local area.
Right.
Like if white did this now, and we had something like this, Black would be getting plenty back for losing the ko. So the timing of when to finish this ko is very difficult. And it's hard to say when to do it. And so in actual practice, in the actual game, we're going to have this ko hanging around almost until the end game. It's to the late middle game. And the fact that it's hanging around there is adding a lot of uncertainty to the game. So what I'm saying is that if my assessment of the position that I think I'm doing fairly well so far, if that's correct, then I probably should be avoiding that uncertainty and just taking here, which actually locally it gives a pretty even result. Like white would be playing in this case, white would be playing the jump here at B. And white would have a great position on the left side and towards the center. So like this
thickness, the thickness is
a lot
great,
of thickness,
right?
and it's turning into thickness. And this is going to affect the whole center, which is going to affect white's potential on the right side. And so it's going to have a very good effect for me. So while this is sort of playing here without playing the Tari is, in a way, it would be called bad fighting spirit.
Yeah,
but in this case, it was probably the best choice. This is what I should have done. So I had the feeling that things were going well for me, but maybe I wasn't quite confident enough that it actually was. So of my assessment of the position. Because if I had been more confident, it would have been easier for me to choose this variation.
Right. And
so,
isn't there a bit of an instinctive, I think you mentioned this, but there's an instinctive fighting spirit to just make the Atari, isn't there?
Yeah, it would just be so great if black connected and white got to take it. Right? It would make a big difference when this happens, because now black can only extend. This would just be completely bad for black. It would be a big difference.
Right.
And so there's no way black's going to do that. And so assuming this would happen would be wishful thinking in any case.
Sure.
But for the time being, white's not afraid of a move like this either, because black doesn't have a good co-threat for this go. And so it's really hard to decide whether or not to play this Atari. And it depends on the overall position and your judgment of that position. Like as I was saying, I think that since I felt that the game was going well for me, I should have been playing the simpler move. And so black doesn't do that and plays here. And so there's the potential that black's going to be building an effective co-threat towards the upper left corner by playing this move. So I take the ko once. This makes sense. So now if black plays, black actually played here. If black, and I was showing this move as a kind of a co-threat. This would be obviously bad for white.
Yeah, sure.
Actually, white is going to answer that. But even locally, this black move here is a good move because black is threatening to connect underneath. But if white stops that, black can play here. This is trouble for white too, because black has a connection here if white plays this way.
Right.
So if we have, if this is the test usual move, and something like this, this would have been feasible for black. I think black should have played this way. Is what I'm saying. How I think black should have played. So this would be the Tetsuji in any case. And so this is the fact that I had to felt that I had to add a stone here means that black gets these two moves on the left side. Already that's paying for black's loss on the upper side. So again, that's another reason that I should have just been playing here and finishing the ladder.
Right. Yeah,
now black probably has to locally answer that because the upper side would be too big otherwise. And it would really simplify the position. So in the game, we have this kind of, so as I was saying, I think black should have played here, but what he did was he played this. And he's going to be doing something a bit fancy here, which I don't think it really worked. He plays here, and then he plays here. He's trying to force me into bad shape. And I do have bad shape locally. But black has a lot of cutting points here. It's not really working out for black. And he's just being fancy. And I have to be careful because there's that ko on the upper side, but that's still in the future, sort of. So I don't see how this is working for black on the upper side.
It's pretty good for white, eh?
For instance, this ladder here, it's not even a ladder anymore. Like there's this move. I should have shown you the ladder. Like at this point, if black escapes here, there's the question of what happens if black escapes here. And if white pushes through, then there is some potential confusion because we have this shape and black's going to win this anyway.
Ah, okay, I see.
But actually, when this happens, white can play the squeeze here. and it's going to be a ladder.
I had that all right out.
Yeah, of course. And so
I saw the first two moves. It's all I saw.
And so this Hane here that black has just played could potentially have something to do with that ladder. So that's why I'm answering locally here. And now, of course, it's going to be, if black pushes through here, it's just going to be a squeeze. So it's not even a ladder now. It's just locally finished.
Right.
So let's see. So I extend here, and black takes the ko. So again, this is really troublesome because now black has ko threats in the upper left corner.
Sure.
And so what I did was I played here, and this made the game a bit difficult for me. This was a very slack move. And it turns out that I was, in effect, I was erasing the value of the local ko threats. And also I was reducing the value of that ko on the right, on the upper side. Because now I have a settled shape in the corner. So the value of the ko when black does something like this is going to be smaller than before. Because my group on the left is alive.
Gotcha. Okay.
So it's reducing the value, but the ko is still really big if black can pull this off. So it's a kind of intermediately effective move. It wasn't very good. And what I should have done was actually very simple. I should have just taken in a ladder even now.
Interesting how that move just winds up being the right move.
It's a good move even now. Now, it's after I played this Atari, so it's sort of strange to be doing that.
Yeah.
But actually, and if black cuts here, of course I will fight the ko, but eventually it's going to be like this. It turns out that now black cannot move into the side anymore because there's still this ko pending. Like at this point, the black's next move would be to capture the one white move. And so the whole side here is white's territory anyway.
Yeah.
And so there was no reason for me to be playing this move because I didn't need to put it inside my own territory. So this would be giving me like the if black plays here, I'm going to play away, of course. But locally, at the very least, you can sort of expect this kind of thing to be happening. So the whole side is white's territory. There's no problem there.
Wow.
But I'm not going to play that move even. So it would sente for me. And so this was a very slack move because it still gives black the potential of that ko. And so now the value of the ko is relatively small because there's less damage to white when white is alive in the upper left corner. So black's not going to start it early in the game now. And so black plays away. So now the left side becomes much more important.
Yeah.
And so we're going to forget about that ko for a while. It's going to come back to us later in the game. But for the time being, it's not important enough for black to play. Like if black plays some mundane ko threat, it's still going to be too much damage to black's upper right territory. So black has to time the Atari it be very well. But also it's not going to be that effective against white either. So it's a very ambiguous position there on the upper side, which makes it even harder than before to judge the position.
Mm-hmm.
And so I start with this. Now, this is a move that I spend a lot of time on, and I was sort of proud of it. It's a bad shape locally, of course.
Yeah, it's so odd.
And it's setting up this move. And so this is a probe that is going to change completely the way how I play the left side. Because the normal move on the left side is the 3-3 point invasion, which is what's going to happen in the lower left corner, which is going to happen in the actual game. That's going to be the game variation. And that is going to change depending on how black answers this probe. Like black can play here underneath, which is the game move, or black can play here to take to connect up there in sente, or black can connect on the fourth line. Now this is the one this is the easy one for me because I get to force with the sagari, and then I get to play an extension on the side, something like this. So this really makes it easy for me to live on the left side. And the white group, it has a base. It's not 100% alive, but black also, the black group at A is not alive either. That only has one eye.
I got to really just say, I was counting that as black territory, and you just erased it in 4 moves. That is... Yeah.
Well, that's the idea behind this.
And you started out with a really, I got to say, odd move. That little push I did not see the clamp coming.
Well, there's also the fact that when black plays this move, this really, it makes my shape in the upper left corner even more solid when I do this. And so that's like, it takes away most of, the only co-threat black has now is this move, which is really a terrible co-threat. It loses so much. And so for actual practice, it takes away all of black's co-threats in the upper left corner.
Interesting.
Which is pretty important when we have this ko on the upper side.
Right.
So that's part of my reason for, and also, even when black plays here and plays the hane, which is a move that I think a lot of, a weaker player would naturally think of this move first.
Yes.
And I thought about the variations. It seems to be the safest move for black. But as I was saying, this has fixed my shape in the upper left. And I also have this continuation here.
I was just looking at that. Yes.
And like, this is not really going to happen against a player of this level. But this is a variation I spent a lot of time thinking about because it was a lot of fun. Like he just discarded it, as you were saying before. It was kind of an instinct thing. He just discarded it because it's very unsettling for black to have this kind of bad aji. So he didn't think very deeply about this. I had a lot of fun thinking about what would happen if I did stuff like this. So I actually did go think about this a lot, and I'm going to show you a variation that I actually was thinking I had prepared for the game, even though it was probably not going to happen. I was going to start with this, and I'm setting up this attachment in the corner, and you can see that with this move here at B, I'm making black commit to pushing through here, which makes the potential loss there for black bigger. And so I do this in the corner. Locally, it's not working, and then I start moving out there. And
this
like
is a variation, right? Not the game.
This is a variation. This is what I was having fun thinking out.
Okay.
And black sort of wants to cut when white plays here.
Sure.
And so this is going to turn into a famous Tetsuji, where white wedges. It's like something we saw in one of Dosaku's games. Actually, it's a famous Tetsuji that any professional would know. But and it's really working well for white because white now has almost a living shape. White's almost living. Black's only got one eye. So white has potential to attack here.
That's cool.
So this would be a success for white.
Yeah, thanks. Yes.
And probably wasted my time thinking about that, but I had a lot of fun. So black just plays.
You were actually thinking about this during the game?
That was a variation I actually had read out during the game.
I'm gonna blame AlphaGo for that one.
And so this is black's best move. We looked at the other two, this one and this one. They were both bad. This is the worst one, but this is pretty bad too. So black plays here. I get the extra Atari, and if I play here, then I can actually break into black's territory a little bit and capture 2 keystones. So that's a little extra for me. But in this case, of course, black would finish off the territory on the left. So that would be bad. It would be bad for me to spend a move to be doing that. I actually considered just playing once here, which means that any local move for black will be gote. Like in the game, black gets to cut here with sente at any point.
I see.
So there was a question of whether I should play once here to prevent that, in which case capturing here would be a gote move. So I would have that whole sequence in reserve. Right. It might have been slightly better. Of course, this exchange here, when black does capture it, it's going to be a pretty obnoxious mistake for white. It's pretty bad to give that poniki to black. Yeah. So I decided just to leave it as it was. And I jumped into the 3-3 point. So what's happened here is that the fact that black can play this, again, it goes back to the point that this reinforces my upper left corner. So I'm going to be satisfied with that, plus the fact that I still have some potential to force against the 3 black stones with a wedge here, for instance, or moves from the center. So I'm going to be satisfied with that slight gain there. And so black covers here and plays the hane. Black had a lot of choices for joseki here, but he chose to play, since the left side is going to be black's territory, he chose to play the most territorially profitable move. And we can see that the lower side here is sort of open areas. It's not as if black has tried to surround the lower side. So black is trying to push me towards the lower side. But actually, at this point of the game, I think I have a slight lead.
Right.
And I was thinking I had a slight lead. I was happy with the position, but I messed up pretty soon. So that's going to be bad. Okay. So again, we have black did play the Tari in the upper left. So I get to capture at B, which reduces the value of black C. That's what I'm saying here in the SDF file. And I do still have some potential with those marked stones just to play Kikasi now. It's not as if I have any real potential, but I do have some forcing moves from the center using those 2 marked white stones. And so black finishes the Joseki in the lower left. And my next move was a difficult choice because at this point, my assessment of the game, although there's that big ko on the upper side, which makes it really hard to be sure. My feeling is that if I can finish the right side and turn that into a white territory, then this is going to be good for me. And I'm not really that worried about black's center potential because that's open up from the upper side. So I can move into the center from the upper side group with moves, for instance, with a move in the vicinity of here, I could move in.
Right.
Or in some cases, I could go all the way in here. So I can reduce that center territory, and black will have to defend the left side. So if I do it with the right timing, I'll be able to reduce that. So I'm not really worried about that. And I'm sort of focusing on the idea that I have to finish off the right side, and I played here. So that was a very tight move.
Were you looking at other things besides that, or was that pretty much just your only focus?
Well, I sort of crawled once. This is the move that I think. I wasn't really looking at this move very much, but this is white C was the other move that I was considering. And the point here is that in the game position, black has a forcing move here, covering on the side.
Oh, yes.
And so when I have not played this scroll here, when I play here immediately, I have to play tightly because black has a forcing move on the second line here. When I crawl here, now black doesn't have a forcing move on the side.
Right.
So that means I can play a bit more loosely in the center.
Right.
And so and even locally, C is a good move. There's a bit of bad aji associated with it because obviously black has potential to be able to extend here. So there's some bad aji with this move. But that's okay because I have eventually I can connect at B. So I don't have to worry about that very much. So when I played here, my opponent immediately took advantage of the tight move by playing an attachment against it. And this came really unexpected. This was completely outside my expectations because I was thinking black had to try something on the right side. And that's the reason that I was playing so tightly here because I was more worried about the right side than I was about black's center moyo. And I played a hane and black haned against it. So what black is doing here is black's actually going to surround territory in the center while giving me the right side. And black is actually gaining in this exchange. That's what I wasn't realizing. And so again, I play once more a tight move, which was another mistake. I should have played the double hane here, which is the shape move. It's the move that first came to mind. But again, this was a misjudgment of the position. I thought that this would be good enough to win the game. If I play the double hane here, that's threatening a double Atari next, so black has to connect. And then I just extend in the center.
Sure.
So this is giving up a lot on the side, actually, because black can play this forcing move. And this is another forcing move. And black can capture my 3 stones on the side.
Wow, yeah.
But that's okay. It doesn't matter. So there's this shape. I'm just going to show you how it dies. But white might play this exchange anyway because that forcing move on the first line it's a 4-point difference for white's territory on the right side, which is starting to look like a white territory now. And white also gets this forcing move. So this whole little life and death problem on the lower side I think it's worthwhile for white to be playing all of these moves because white does get this forcing move here, plus this forcing move from the center. And white's going to be able to reduce the left side fairly efficiently with this. This is going to be another forcing exchange. And you can see white has a lot of potential in the center. So this is actually a winning position for white. It's a winnable position. And I should have seen that. Like this is the double hane here is the first move that sprang to mind. It's just that it looks like such a dangerous move, this move here.
It does.
And since I thought that I was winning, I chose the more safe approach. Like I get the force from underneath twice here. So I'm getting some extra territory, and then I just extended here.
This is the game, right?
This is the game.
Yeah.
And so I'm playing a lot of bad moves because this move was bad too. So this was my last chance to just simply reduce the center with this.
This was my question. You just weren't worried about that huge moyo that seems so big.
Well, yeah. Well, my reasoning here is that black has such a solid position on the left side. So it's just, for instance, if I mark it out, it's just this area here in the center, which is, it doesn't look so big to me. And when I look at the right side, like this area here,
right,
it's a much more wide open area with more weakness.
Yeah.
And so when white gets this right side, it's more efficient. So that was my reasoning here.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But actually, to refute that, actually, I can refute my own statement here because when white reduces the center, it's white's next move in the center, for instance, like let's just have black play a random move. White's next move in the center, something like this, is going to be threatening to take away a lot of the left side too. So a lot of white's moves in the center here are going to be forcing endgame. So there's actually a lot more effectiveness to white's moves in the center. So this would have, at this point, the game is sort of not necessarily good for white anymore, but it's at least in the balance if I had played this move. But this is where it starts to look bad for me. Because this exchange, it would be really good if black would answer at B, because it would be giving me some extra territory. It would help me consolidate my right side territory. And I would be, at this stage of the game, like I'm not really thinking of jumping into the upper right corner in the 3-3 point, because it's more important to surround the right side. And so compared to allowing black to be playing a move, for instance, like this, this move actually, if black answers it here, it's going to push back the borderline between the white territory and the black territory. It's going to be reducing black's territory in the corner. So that was the idea here. But we're going to see that this exchange actually is giving black a local co-threat for that ko on the upper side. So the timing of the upper side ko is still very much a question. It's a very delicate position here, where actually it might have been too early for black to play the ko yet, but he's going to set up to play the ko. So I think this move in itself was okay. But when black plays here, now this move is sort of a telling move. It's an indicator that black is setting up to play the ko on the upper side, because black is playing this move to make a big ko threat. Black still needs a very big ko threat for that ko on the upper side. So black is increasing the value of the ko threat. This move in itself would not be a valid ko threat for the upper side ko. So black plays once here and then starts the ko. So the moment black played this move, I knew that he was going to play the ko on the upper side.
Right.
And it was probably premature. Like maybe he should have started with moves like A to increase the value of that area. But I think what happened is he made a very simple mistake in that he overlooked a ko threat that I have. Can you find a ko threat for white? So black has this ko threat. This is going to be this. Now this is a very big ko threat. White has to answer this one. So I had a good ko threat at this point.
I mean, is it as simple as the Atari on the left?
That simple.
No way. Really?
And it's better to play the Tari from this side because that allows me to extend next. But this would just be too big. Like if black takes here, the point is that these three stones, they're cutting stones. So they connect all the white stones. and most of black's territory is gone now. So that would be too big.
Right.
And at this point, black doesn't have a valid co-threat. So it turns out that black's co was a bit too, it was premature.
Wow.
And so black plays, but still you can see, I'll mark it up again. You can see that this stuff I was doing in the upper right corner was actually, it was creating co-threats for black. So that move in itself was a pretty stupid move, but the loss that I incurred, most of it has gone now. Like locally I took a loss, but black has given me something on the upper side in return. And so this actually, it's looking like a good game for white. I've recovered from my mistakes because my opponent helped me a little bit.
I was going to say you both sounds like you traded mistakes there.
We traded mistakes. This cutting move it's really hard to say. After I cut here, the game is going to look difficult for me. And so this is something that happens in endgame. Like in the middle game or earlier in the game, there would be no question that black would have to connect against a cut like this.
Sure.
But at this stage of the game, the Pononuki here is just, it's not as valuable as it used to be. So it's actually valid for black to be doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
So to go back to white's cut here, I probably should have just extended here.
I was just looking at that, trying to figure out how valuable that is. Oh yeah, that's
this is probably a small lead for white. White has a small lead.
Right.
It's going to be a tough end game, but I think white has a small lead. And the actual game was a tough end game anyway, but it was good for black for a while. So this was and I think just to give us excuse for all these mistakes, this code that we had on the upper side and this open up center, it makes it a very difficult game to play. So and of course at this point we're both in time trouble. So that's our excuse, I guess, for all the mistakes.
Okay, fair enough.
And like this move, it probably lost a couple of points or something like that. So it's a very small. It's if you count the territory, it's probably a relatively small loss. The problem is that it's going to be difficult for white to make a good territory in the center here. But we're going to see how I work that out to a certain extent. And so black plays here and plays the forcing moves here. And you can see, usually it's good for black to be playing from the corner here. Although black did have that forcing move on the side, I'll mark it again. Black did have the forcing move from this side.
Right.
If black plays from that side, it's going to give white a territory of about 7 points in the corner. So that's going to be a big difference in territory. So it's usually better for black to be playing from the corner. And so locally, this is the correct sequence, I think. It's a kind of a forced exchange. And we have some more potential for a ko on the lower side of the board. So that's going to be the final climax of the game.
Wow.
So now I've marked up a few big points. Where is A? Well, so black connects at A. So this is the final big game move. And we have a cut at B, which is really big. You can see that black is sort of threatening to make a kind of a semi-I there, where white will have to put 2 stones into white's territory. So if white captures at B, that's going to be settled. And there's the point at E and there's the point at C. So there's these various
big points. Gosh, wow.
And C is the biggest move. Barely, it's slightly bigger than B, but they're about the same. So I play this one. But at this point, I've realized that I'm behind.
How far?
Let's see. It's a couple of points, 2.5 points, 1.5 points.
Yeah.
But black played this one. And this is a forcing move. So black played here. And now this made it really exciting. Because this move, with this move, black should have played here. Now this would have been a secure win.
Yeah.
And the point is, this is huge too. We're going to see what happens next. That's going to be exciting. But this is big because black has a follow-up. Black has a forcing move at B, and can jump in all the way to C. So that's what makes this move big. So if black had played here, he would have had something like 10 points before Komi. So he would have had a very secure advantage. And what happened is that he missed. I think he misread what happens after.
Oh, wow.
White has to be very aggressive here. It's not as if just by playing this move, black gave the advantage back to me. I have to be very aggressive on the upper side.
Because I was looking at the really simple sealing off move, but that's just not good enough, is
it? Let's try that out. Like if white plays something like this,
yeah, that's what I was looking
black
at.
can still probably break into white's territory with something like this, or
No
maybe
kidding.
even more carefully with like this. White has to build on the right side of the center and the left side of the center both at the same time.
Right.
It's not going to work out. So that's not going to be good enough. So I have to be as efficient as possible. And actually, that white stone in the upper right corner, this stone that I'm about to mark, this one, is going to play in. So because when black wants to connect the one stone, that's a big move.
Sure.
And then I get to play the hunter.
Yes,
so I'm threatening to wedge it in. And this is going to set up a squeeze on the upper side. So black plays the bamboo joint and will eventually have to cut here on the third line. And black had to put a stone in. So you can see I've got the most way of closing off the center.
And you came up you were under time pressure. You're in Bayomi at that point, right?
I think I was in. I used up my final 5 minutes. Like the Bayomi, the second reading starts at the last 5 minutes. And I after this, I was out of time.
Nicely done. I
think my opponent still had maybe a couple of minutes, 2 or 3 minutes on his clock. I don't really have a clear recollection.
No, but that's really, and that's worth a bunch of points, right?
Well, it's really good. The problem is that my center is not 100% territory yet. There's still that opening in this area. There's this move. Right. This is the key move, the mark point I've just marked.
Yeah.
Whether this works or not is very vital, because if black has to do something more timid, like pushing through here once or playing a Kosumi or something like this, it's not going to be good enough for black. Black has to go all the way here, but there's some question about whether that works or not. And so that's going to make it exciting. And on the lower side here, just to get back, let's see if I can find the move. I shift click. Oops, not getting there. So there's, let's just do it in a more mundane way. Black A here. You would usually expect black to be playing a solid connection here. And there's actually a 1 point difference in the black territory. If we assume, let's just ignore what happens on the upper side and say that eventually we're going to have something like, well, actually, black's going to play a peep here once. And let's say something like this happens and black has this territory. That corner territory is a completely secure territory, right? Mm-hmm. Now let's see what happens with the game move when black plays this hanging connection, and if black does the same thing. If black does the same thing. Now this is not a secure black territory, because white can play here and play an attachment.
Right.
Now this is like it was. This is in the ancient Chinese books. Like this is a famous endgame problem where if black plays here, the whole thing is going to be a seki, or otherwise it's going to be a ko if white plays this one. So this is like something that everyone knows by rote. Any professional will know this one by rote. And so this hanging connection is it's a very aggressive move in that if black doesn't follow up aggressively, black's already paid a point here. Black's lost a point in the lower right corner.
Right.
So it's an indication that black is going to play the ko that actually happened. So we have this. So I've done well in the upper right corner. And at this point, actually, it's a very close game. Mm-hmm. It depends. It's going to depend on one ko threat. It's going to be a one ko threat difference.
Can I just say, I said this was going to be a break from the AlphaGo games. For the record, I was mistaken.
Well, you're going to see me doing the same stuff I was doing with the self-played series, because
oh my god,
I'm going to give you these long variations in the endgame because it's really exciting. So what I was saying before is that once black has played this hanging connection, if black just plays the normal endgame there, black's going to be losing a point in the lower right corner. So black is already, with that move, black was already committed to play this ko. So this was part of the plan.
That's such a huge code.
And of course, I'm not going to back off. But like if I back off here, now this is going to be a huge profit for black. It's going to be a cente squeeze.
Oh, yeah.
And then black would be able to play whatever way in the center. Black would have a small lead. So I'm going to play the ko first. And the value of, I had two ways to play a ko. Like I could have played this ko too. But with this ko, there's two problems. One of the problems is that now black has valid ko threats against the lower left corner. And the other problem is that when I lose the ko, that I'm already committed to the ko, there's no way for me to back out of this.
Yeah.
Profit of this move is that there's a ko here, which again is if I win this ko, it's the whole lower side is going to be white territory. There's also the fact that if things change, if the overall position changes, there's still potential for me to back off with a move here.
Right.
So it depends on, so black cannot play any terrible ko threats. Black has to be careful about how the ko threats are played too. So we start the ko. And black has to play, like black doesn't have any good ko threats for this ko. But this is a move that black wanted to play anyway. This ko threat is big enough. Like I'm getting something like 10 points on the lower side. And so it's, in all, it's something like more than 15-point difference if I win this ko on the lower side. But if black gets to play two moves in the center, that's going to be big enough for black to win.
Yeah.
And so I play the strong counterattack. And let's see. At this point,
you're both in overtime at this point. I'm assuming.
We're both in overtime.
Yeah.
Black continues. Instead of taking the ko, black continues. So this is a point where we're both having a lot of time reading out all of the variations, and we're sort of guessing. Like we're trying, as I said in some other previous video, what happens when you're in overtime like this is that usually you can sort of weed out the losing variations and say, well, that one is obviously not working.
Sure.
And then you play what's left. And like that's sort of what, like for instance, Liseta was doing that when he beat AlphaGo, the one game. Right. He was playing the one move with which he didn't really know what was going to happen. And he sort of indicated that in his comments after the game. And in this case, the weeded out variation would be taking the ko, because if black does that, I get to push through. I had this move ready. This is the Tetsuji in the center. It threatens to break out into the center. Like if black answers that, now white's gained a lot towards the center. That whole area is in white's territory now. And so eventually I can even back off, and this is going to be a win for white. Like I've established that big territory in the center. So black would finish the ko, and we would have this kind of thing. And this is actually going to be a half pointer.
Jeez.
Because I've gained a lot. Black has gained a lot locally. Like this is, it's 20 points, 26 points compared to white backing out of the ko. But white has gained enough in the center to make up for that. So we would have this this end game. I'll just show it to you. I went through the whole end game. Actually, this placement here is a good move for black. It reduces itself. It's reducing white's territory by one point. And so, yeah, and you know, this was. I did not work this out during the game.
Okay.
But it looked like it was.
You're only human.
Yeah. AlphaGo might have had it. And it's full of a lot of neat moves, like white's connection there on the first line. This is a Tetsuji, an endgame Tetsuji. So people who are interested in endgames can look at the endgame variation here. I'm pretty sure it's correct. And it's a really interesting endgame. And white wins by half a point. So black cut, instead of capturing here, black cuts once more. And I push through. So what's going to happen here? This was actually an opportunity for black to take the ko.
Sure.
It's a very fine difference. Like white's going to push through in the center, black's going to finish the ko, and we're going to have this trade. And This is going to be a small win for black. Like this is going to be more like, it's going to be something around 2.5 points, I think, or at least 1.5 points for black. And again, I had worked this out, but I to make this trade. I was going to do this. I was going to go this far, and I had not worked out the rest of the end game. But it turns out that black would have won.
Wow.
Yeah, that's right. So it was a chance for black to take the ko. I jumped ahead of myself at this point. Black actually continued in the center, so this was going to be the losing move. So this would have been a winning variation for black.
No kidding.
And so this one ko threat is going to change the whole thing, because in the game, if I had played correctly, I would have won because of that one ko threat. So black extended here, and I pushed through. And the final losing move was it was a very simple mistake. Like black pushes through and cuts. And here, there's still a lot of variations. If I got carried away, I can go into them. But I didn't do it here. Black is just squeezing here from the center. And my move here, just capturing the one stone, was a really hard to explain a mistake like this. It's a really terrible move. I should have just pushed out first. So there's a 4-point difference if I push out twice here before capturing the one stone. And so the only explanation is that I was sort of confused. I was thinking of capturing once and then finishing the ko. So I was thinking of that kind of a variation as part of my reading. Like, what happens if I finish the ko at this point with a move like this? And so in this case, there would be no meaning for me pushing through. But as I found at this point in the game, I realized that connecting here was the best move. So if I'm going to connect there, there's no reason for me not to be pushing through here and gaining 4 points before connecting. So I actually lost 4 points in that exchange.
Wow.
So this made the difference between what was probably 1.5 win or something like that for white. And it made the difference between that and my losing the game by 1.5 points. It was a 3 or 4 point difference. Because this would have been and I worked out the whole end game for you too, so if you like that.
I love it. Yeah.
And so we finished, white ends up losing the ko.
Just back up just a second. I'm just probably missing something. Back up. So, yeah, right there. So go.
So at this point, white can either capture the one black stone or capture the two black stones.
Okay.
So white's group is saved with this sequence. And what black is trying to do is black is trying to squeeze to establish black's center territory. So what I should have done is I should have pushed through here. In the game, I end up connecting, which was not the planned move. I was planning on doing something different like this, which is just not working.
Well, that makes sense. But in the game, just go ahead and do the game.
Logically, it makes sense. But in actual practice, capturing her would just be another way to lose.
Okay.
So what I should have done was I sort of pushed through here twice. And black gets to squeeze. But you can see with these marked stones pushing into black's territory, there's a 4 point difference in the size of black's territory.
What's black's next move?
Black takes the ko.
But, and why would black not take the two white stones?
Because capturing this block of white stones is a 26 point move and it's bigger.
Wow, really? I mean, I'm just looking at that upper side. Just it looks like it just wipes out so much territory.
That's more than 20 points, but
it's not 26 points.
But like if black plays, because it's 26 points to capture the white stones, but that's not even counting the white territory that's developed here. That's a 10 point.
Okay, I got you. Yep, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Wow.
So black goes after, and actually the 26 points that white has to save those stones. So white's playing here to fight the ko once, and we end up with white backing out of the ko and black capturing here. But you saw that ko threat that black had to play.
Yeah.
There's that ko threat here. Let's see if I can find it. This ko threat is such a bad move.
Yeah.
When black does end up capturing the two white stones. But what happens if black doesn't play that ko threat? I did that one too. So if black doesn't play that ko threat, that would be black would have no ko threat here. And it's really very, very delicate because this ko threat that white did, as I was telling you, that was a black territory in which black had to add a stone to it. So this is actually losing a point when white wins the ko. So if black just takes the two stones in the center, and this is something close to what you were suggesting. This is going to be a small win for white. This, again, is something like 1.5 points.
Wow.
And so I went to the end of the game for that one, too. People who are interested can look at that variation it's a variation. It's a sub-variation.
So it's
yeah,
interesting.
but,
So
yeah.
you had made a series of mistakes, but then Black had sort of handed it back to you, and it was
So at this
really
point, I could have won.
right here, right here.
Yeah, but you know, I was
And sort of-
having well, I guess we were both having so much trouble finding our next moves
Right.
and reading out the local variations and figuring out who's going to win the ko on the lower side. Made it very difficult for us to realize that. Like all of these variations that I'm adding to the end game here were variations that I worked out after the game.
Sure.
And I didn't have them worked out during the game.
And it's like you're saying too, you just sort of have to discard the ones that clearly don't work, but
Yeah,
you're talking.
there's a lot of variations where it was not clear whether they were working or not, because locally there's good local moves and then there's good moves. You have to it all depends on the ko on the lower side too.
So it's interesting. So for the amateurs out there, I think there's a useful lesson in terms of sort of, time and because you've got not only got time pressures there, but you've got some really complicated. You've got reading problems and you've got counting problems.
Right. You have to count and read. It's just not possible. Like even for a top pro, it would be very difficult to read this one out. But like the players who, the top players of their countries, like for Japan, it would be Iyama. There's some Chinese and Korean players who would be able to, who would probably find the best moves. But if you ask them, they would say they had not completely read it out.
Right. It's more of a feeling on that. Wow. Well,
so there's actually one more thing here.
Oh, really? Okay, cool.
Yeah, because this is a point where I could have played this ko thread, and I actually made a variation for that too. So with this variation, I'm playing a ko thread that loses a point, and it's going to be a trade for the center here. And again, I get a lot of profit on the lower side, and Black gets the 2 stones. So this is a variation very similar to a variation we've seen before.
Right. And
the big difference is that White has not pushed through into these 4 points. Sorry, it's these 4. Black has some extra territory in the center here, at least probably about 4 points of extra territory in the center here. And that makes the difference. So it's very similar to a variation where I was saying White was going to win by something like 1.5 or 2.5 points. And now Black's going to win by 1.5 or 2.5 points. And I took that to the end of the game. And so that's another variation where people will, and I actually put the point values of the difference in the file. So that's, so people who are interested, the end game is just there's a lot of reading involved in the end game. So it's interesting.
Yeah. And I'm going to suggest to folks that, this just carries a couple things I've always heard from pros, which is really reviewing your games, is really, really valuable. This is a game that you had lost, but you spent all this time looking at all these variations, and there's a value to you for that, right?
Well, it was a really exciting game too. Yeah, there was a great value to it, and Black played a good game. It was a good game on the whole. I think the way the variations in the opening of the game and the judgment of the center of the board was really very a part of the game. In this game, it was very difficult for a human player. Difficult for me, at least. And so I think I had a lot to learn from this game. It made actually a very pleasurable experience, even though I lost the game.
Right.
So I just to finish the game here,
sure.
I'm playing this ko thread at A, which is big enough, but it gives back a big ko thread here. So this is just going to be a different trade that's going to end up in the same result. Like this is going to be this is the actual game. It's